And
Hi,
with that, I will turn it over to Lindsay Harrington.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience with us as we work through some technical difficulties. I am ashamed to admit I think I maybe caused some of them today. So it's Monday, but we're all here now. Um, and it is really good to see everybody here for our conversation about outreach in libraries. So I want to especially thank those of you who responded or whose directors um, tapped you to respond to the questions that went out in advance of today's meeting. Um, I want to just sort of start by saying that as always, this is a DLIS discussion, so it's not really a webinar or a presentation. It is a themed conversation. And what we really love to see is for you guys to connect with each other and answer each other's questions about whatever the topic is for this month. And of course, this month it is outreach. We do have some seed questions that we wanted to start with. And so I'm going to read those out loud just in case anybody on the call maybe didn't get the email or was not forwarded the email with those questions. So you'll kind of know what it is that we're interested in knowing. So the questions we sent out were, what types of outreach service does your library offer? How does your library's outreach service reach people in your community that might not otherwise interact with the library? Do you have a bookmobile? If you do, how well is your library's bookmobile service used? And I realize when I use the term bookmobile, I mean any kind of mobile library. So it can be on a bike or on a bus or a van, whatever kind of mobile library services you have. What are some challenges you have faced in providing outreach services? And then what advice would you offer your peers who have faced similar challenges? Um, I'm really thankful to folks in Pasco County, Brevard County, Putnam County, and Winter Park Library who sent me information about their libraries and answered those questions in advance of today's meeting. And I would love to give them a chance if they are willing and present and interested to answer those out loud for the group. But before I sort of be quiet and let you guys talk, we also had some specific questions from registrants, from folks in the field who put these into their registration forms, and I will get to those, or I will address those after we have a chance to kind of go through these seed questions. So I'm going to start with, what types of outreach service does your library offer? And again, if you are from Pasco, Brevard, Putnam, or Winter Park, you have sent those in. But we'd love to hear you say it out loud if you're present with us and willing to talk. But this question is for everybody. So if you're not present, if you are not one of those libraries, we still want to hear from you. And we would love to hear your voice if you can unmute and answer that for us and start the conversation.
Hi, Lindsay. Are
Hi.
you able, I have a message in the chat. Are you by any chance able to post the questions to the chat? If not, we
Yes,
can send them out later. Okay, thank you.
I can. And I am not, for the record, I am not seeing the whole chat. So if that was in the and I don't have access to chatting with anyone other than you and Chelsea. So let me just drop that
Yeah,
there.
I'll come over there in just a minute and stop
Yeah.
by.
So let me just, we had an internet difficulty on the computer we normally use. So I'm working from my desk instead of the webinar room, and everything is different and new. But yes, I can drop them in the chat. And as soon as I have access to the whole chat, I will do that. But for right now, we'll start with what types of outreach service does your library offer?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes. Hi, Robert. Thank you.
Hey, it's Robert. I'm also here with Becca. We're from Pasco
Hi.
County Libraries. Amaris is on the call too. She joined remotely.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah, types outreach our library system offers. I don't want to say it's all the things, but we do offer a lot of various different types of outreach. We kind of divide it up into two types, which is like programmatic, So that being, we'll go to daycare or some type of facility and maybe do a story time or even a craft program of that nature. Maybe if it's like a senior center or something like that. And then we have our like promotional type outreaches. So that's more of a like, say the school system's offering an open house and they want us to have a table with library card information, signups, things of that nature. So that's kind of the two big types that we offer: programs on the go at a site, or we'll come talk about the library, say how cool we are, and hopefully get you to visit.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you so much, Robert from Pasco. Anybody else want to chime in on what you offer?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Marlon.
Hi, Marlon.
I'm more from the Miami-Dade Public Library System.
Hi. Hello,
Hello.
Miami.
And I'm here with my awesome colleagues, Gina Menji and Etta Rodriguez. And they can speak on some of the things that we offer here at the Miami-Dade Public Library System. But one of the things that we have is our bookmobiles. So we have several bookmobile vehicles that travel out into the community each and every day and present, obviously literature, literacy type things, as well as, things like our museum pass program, where the public can check out museum passes for a week for a family of 4 at our mobile library stops, as well as at our branches. And we also have our Technobus, which is our mobile computer technology lab, which also does visits throughout the county for seniors, adults, children, and teenagers. And I can turn it over to my colleagues to talk about some of the other outreach things that we do.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
So in addition to just having a table at events, we do programming at offsite. We'll do STEAM activities at different schools and childcare centers. Marlon, I think, didn't mention we have a book bike that will be deployed from branches to community events that are nearby. We have staff members that do story time at childcare centers and schools, and then I'll let Etta take over with some of the larger scale activations that we tend to do year after year.
Well, larger scale activations, for example, we were just at Florida SuperCon down here in Miami, and we had staff from different branches there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had a mega library in the meeting room where we had books, portable shelving units that we brought in, available for checkout. We did library card signups. We had crafts, coloring, a few different activities. Basically a nice area for people to just like come in and chill and hang out for a while, maybe read, maybe check something out. And then we also had on the exhibition floor, an area one of our colleagues brought his branches 3D printer and was showing, everyone how that works. And we did library card signups, yeah, that was just this past weekend, and that went well. And we have also been going every year to the fair, to the local county fair. And last maybe 2-3 years, right? We've been going for like the whole duration of the fair.
Oh, wow. So like the whole time. That's a lot of staffing.
A lot of staffing. I mean, it's not full days every single day.
Just spring break.
Yeah, just spring break. The other days of the week, they open later in the day. They open at 4 or 5 around there. So it's not full days the whole time, but it is still a big deal. And we premiered our portable shelving units, or it's a Street Lab. It's from Street Lab. I don't know if anybody's familiar, but that's the company. And we brought in those and we used them for the first time at the fair, and they were a hit, and we had lots of library card signups. People were checking out books. It was a good time.
Lovely. That's great. Well, thank you, Miami-Dade, for sharing. Anybody else want to chime in? What types of outreach service does your library offer? Maybe you have it. Yep. Hi, Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brayden Hausman. I'm here at Lee County. I'm the manager of outreach, and my department does, I really liked how Robert split it into two categories with programming and
Mhm.
motion. But we do a lot of programming with senior centers, and we also do a lot of, we have a deposit collection. So we actually deliver, we have 8 routes throughout the county where we deliver materials monthly and some quarterly. We do have 2 book vehicles. We don't really have a bookmobile because we
Yeah.
use deposit collection on all of it. And with our deposit collection, you know, we're breaking down barriers. You don't need a library card to check something out or take it. There's no due dates. It's basically items that have been removed from our collection. So it's a second life for those books. But we take that out into the community. We have a pop-up truck, and right now we have a van also with removable shelving that we use. Like right now it's for summer reading program. But we do a lot of programming also, and that's typically how we try to divide it too. Are we going there to do something with someone, or are we going there to promote everything? But we're throughout the county. I think our biggest things is right now we're in off season. But like during season here in Lee County, we're at like festivals every weekend, just promoting and letting everyone know. We have a lot of snowbirds here in Lee County.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different time of year whenever winter rolls around. But that's basically what we do. And I'm here with a few of my colleagues also. Um, uh, Samantha, I think, is on here, and she's the head of our homebound services or home borrower services and talking books programs. So they do a lot of, we join hands a lot with outreach and her to take those into the assisted living facilities that we serve also.
Wonderful. That is great. So that is a really wonderful way to think of it. Programming and lending our books, right? And I'm gonna guess most of y'all sort of probably fall along those lines. And so in the chat now, I'm so thankful to my host and my co-host. They've dropped the questions in there for you guys. And they can keep me appraised of any. I think I can see chat that goes into everything, but I can't communicate with you guys today via chat. So I'm thankful to Rebecca and Chelsea for taking care of that for me. That is wonderful. Anybody else? So we've heard from Lee and from Pasco and from Miami-Dade. Hi, Alexandra. I see your hand. Go for it.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm the community outreach manager at the St. Johns County Public Library System.
Oh.
I took over a little bit over a year ago. At the time we had 3 bookmobiles. Unfortunately, 2 of them were at the point that we had to take them out of service, but we do have 1 running right now, and then we have 1 more that is currently in the process of being built out for us. So we are expecting to get that one on the road probably in January or so. Very excited. So the way that we do outreach in St. John, since we have a very small community outreach department, is that we have the branches themselves kind of take over the more programming side of outreach. Because those are the faces that we want people familiar with when they go into their libraries that are close to them. So if there's like a program like going out to do a story time, something like that, then people from the branch are going out and doing those. They also partner with us when we need them for big events, such as when we are in parades, when we're in the big festivals that have thousands of people. We kind of need like all hands on deck, because when we initially started community outreach over again, when I took over, it was me, 1 other person, and then we had an empty space that we had to fill. So at the time, we were just trying to keep the bookmobile route going because we do not have enough branches, and so our bookmobile kind of fills in the gaps. The challenges that we have had are weather and vehicles, honestly. We went from 3 to 1. The one that we have has been faced with a lot of generator issues. and just mechanical problems. So we've been trying to figure those things out. We're having to pivot a lot, but we're in a good spot now. In addition to that, we also have a variety of deposit collections all around the county, and we fill little free libraries all around the county. We're actually working with our friends of the Bookmobile to build 5 new little free libraries that we are about to put out into the community in the next couple of weeks here. I think they just need to be painted. Plus, we are also trying out kind of a door-to-door delivery service for people who are in assisted living, nursing homes right now. So that has been going especially well so far. We have been getting lots of good feedback for the door-to-door delivery. It's very personal, I
Yeah.
think, in that way. Because in addition to that, we do have books by mail. So right now we are just trying to have like a menu of services that are available to everyone in our county and trying to figure out like what best fits for that person. So for example, if a school reaches out saying, hey, we want a weekly bookmobile stop, and I'm like, oh man, I don't think I can do that, but what can we do for you instead? So that's how it's been going so far.
That's nice. Thank you for sharing. And you mentioned your bookmobile has a friends group dedicated to the
Yes.
bookmobile. Okay, that's pretty cool. Are there any other libraries out there with a similar setup where your bookmobile kind of has its own friend group, its own support group? Very cool. I don't think I've heard too many, so that's very neat. I love it. All right. Well, does anybody have anything else they want to share about their library's outreach program, or do you have questions for your peers who have already shared about their library service? Anything you'd like to ask these folks?
I had a question for, oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, we'll go
Go
ahead.
ahead, you have a question.
We'll do Robert and then Onika.
My question was, I think for Miami-Dade, for your bookmobiles collection, I'm thinking operationally. So do you have like a dedicated collection just for the bookmobiles and a budget for that? Because I'd love to get one eventually, so I'm trying to figure out logistics.
Yes, we do. We have our own collection for the bookmobiles. And it is a bit of a difficulty to manage it as it goes in and out of let's see, we have 1, 2, 3 two medium-sized bookmobile trucks, which are really buses, but we call them trucks because they're sort of about 29 feet long. And 1 bookmobile van and another van that is more like a, sort of, what do you call those vans? Like a caravan kind of thing, cargo van that's not branded. And the collection lives inside the branch, the majority of the collection. And, of course, it just kind of rotates in and out of the buses as the patrons utilize it. And we've been toying with the idea of creating, like an individual collections within each bookmobile so that we can keep track of each all of the books and where they actually live. Just because of the fact that sometimes the vehicles break down, and let's say if the bookmobile's in the shop and those books haven't been circulating, we kind of lose track of them a little bit. So, but yeah, we do have a special bookmobile collection.
We also forgot to mention that we also do deposit collections. We have, how many stops do we have that have deposit collections?
About 4 right now.
And we also have a neighborhood bookshelf program that we sign a little contract and issue a library card to museums, community organizations, coffee shops, whoever it is that wants to have a small collection of books at their location. And depending on how we figured out the agreement, we refresh it. If I know that with one museum, we refresh it every time they get new exhibitions. But it just depends on what we have come to agree with as far as what the organization would like. And these are it's usually the branch that handles these, since the branches are pulling from their collection and putting it there. And we are fine free. And if books don't make it back, it's not the end of the world. We really just want to get books in people's hands.
Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you guys for answering each other's questions. Oh, Nika, go ahead.
Yeah,
And
I
please tell
guess
me
I
if I'm
just,
pronouncing your name incorrectly and I will fix that.
oh, no worries. It's
Okay.
Onika.
Onika,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that it is really interesting to hear from those that are responding, 2 or 3 or even several, I'm sure, do the collections and the in terms of deposit collections and little free libraries and things like that, just to know that you know that is happening at that level, that there are several doing that. We don't currently offer any kind of collection or checkouts as we're out and about, but we do a lot of similar things as mentioned, like going to senior centers, and we've actually found a really cool venue at a local anime bar. And so we've been going out to there to kind of work with the 20-year age, which I know can be kind of a challenge where they're in between and interesting. But yeah, I was curious to hear more about the little free library and the book collections, because we don't currently actually do that sort of thing. So I was curious about, if there's a formal checkout process or if it's just like honor system, and so it was good to hear some of those responses.
Those are great questions. Onika, do any of you want to respond? I see Alexandra's hand and I think Shannon unmuted. So do y'all one of you want to go first?
Alexandra can go first. I was actually going to say something as a follow-up as to outreach.
Okay, perfect. We'll come right back to you, Shannon. Go ahead, Alexandra.
Okay, hi. So the way that we've been doing little free libraries is we have a couple of different routes based on where the libraries are where the little free libraries are located. And we take donations from all over the place and kind of rehome them. So these are not library books, these are all donations. And we organize them within our office. We've got lots of shelves, not enough shelves, but we're trying to make do. I also reached out to all of our media specialists in the school district, and I told them, hey, like, this is a project that we're working on. We would love to take your weeded and discarded books as long as, they're in okay shape. And so I got way more than I thought I was going to that way. I've actually had to ask some of them to like hold on for me because I don't have enough storage space. We also get them from some of the other branches, friends groups. When I'm in need of something specific, like I want more mysteries, I'll reach out to one of the friends groups who run their little bookstores and say, hey, like, do you have any that you can send me? And then they'll inter-office them to me. But yeah, we kind of like to say that we collect all the donations and then we just rehome them all over the county, wherever they need to be.
Great. That's great. And my piggyback question is, do you ever get any, so when I see a little free library, it'll say take a book, share a book. Do you have folks put books back in? So do you have any coming back into your collection from the community at all?
So some,
Yeah.
so at each of the little free libraries, and based on where they are and what they are, we do kind of switch out what's there. So if there's a ton of, I don't know, if somebody dropped off their whole collection of romance books, we'll pull some out, replace that with some other things, then we'll move that somewhere else. But mostly, especially like our beach little free libraries, we're just constantly filling them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, we love to see them being used.
Okay, Shannon.
Hi, from Hillsborough County. So I thought the ideas are great, and a lot of the things that we're doing here, it's a big system, so we have to kind of utilize a lot of the suggestions that you all mentioned in our outreaches. One thing we did somebody just contacted us they are actually a little free library. I don't want to say like a company, but more of an organization, and they have little free libraries throughout Hillsborough County. So I'm thinking that we're going to start working with them. And the good thing about them is that they're asking for books from whether it's adult or children's books. The other thing is that I thought on an outreach initiative, which what has been kind of neat for us, is there is a partner that works with the city of Tampa to get people to utilize the spaces, mainly the park areas in the city of Tampa. So we do kind of a date night with a book with these folks. And what happens is we supply all the books, they wrap them in kind of like, whatever festive paper they want. And then on the spine of the book, it'll say like mystery. But then, on the book, it'll say, oh, follow Jen as she goes down the rabbit hole of dark despair and mistrust to find the light at the end of the tunnel. So all of the books, they've kind of like labeled like this based on, what the book is about, but it's been kind of neat. Hasn't been the best turnout, even though the park is super cute where they do it at. But I think because of the park's location, it's not really accessible to parking. And to find parking, you have to basically circle the block like 30 times and hope and pray somebody moves out of a parking space so you can park there. But it is a great idea. I just think if they would probably move this to a different location where parking is more accessible, I think it would be a much bigger turnout. But it is a great idea and has gotten a little bit of traction, but we like the idea, so we kind of stuck with it.
That's really cool. One of my local bookstores has a whole shelf that they do that way, where it's like you can buy, but you buy it. So it's lovely to see it in the library. That's good. I see hands for Hannah Hurst and Danielle. I didn't catch which order you raised your hand, so I'm just gonna go with the first one and to the left on my screen, and that is Danielle. And then Hannah will get you next. We can't hear you. Oh, I think you're muted. That's better, but you're breaking up a little bit.
So sorry.
Oh, no, that's good. That's good. No.
Okay.
Today is Monday, the day of technical difficulties.
Yes. I'm from Orange County, and we have a new community engagement department, so we're doing a ton of outreach. But we just put our first bookmobile on order, so we're very excited. So I have a question for those folks that have a bookmobile. Ours won't be ready till 2026, so we have a little bit of time to figure this out. But storage of your vehicle, where do you store your vehicle? We've done some research, and some libraries have told us that in Florida with the humidity, you need to keep it plugged in. So we're just wondering, how do you handle that?
That's an excellent question. Anybody out there like to answer? I see two hands. I see Brandon and Alexandra. Okay, Brandon, she wants you to go first.
Yes, you should definitely keep them plugged in, especially with your generator. But like we work with facilities just to get an adapter to the shoreline that it uses to plug in. And it basically plugs into now like a 110 outlet. And that's just for our pop-up truck, and it has the generator on it, but we don't have the full-fledged bookmobile. We're hoping to have one in a couple of years. So, but yes, keeping it plugged in, especially you're never going to know when you need that power. So it's good to keep it charged.
So we don't keep ours plugged in. We park ours outside one of our libraries where our admin is also located. We just get the generator going, or we now plug in also using an adapter when the generator is acting up. But they've been doing it that way with the bookmobiles here for the longest time, and like knock on wood, we haven't had any issues with the humidity with the books. So I don't know.
Those are great questions.
Marlon from Miami.
Oh, yep. Go ahead, Marlon.
I would just say, I agree with what everyone else is saying. One thing that you should sort of take into account is the humidity and the temperature. Because if you have technology on board, like some of the laptops and things like that, it does get affected by being exposed to heat over and over again. So trying to have a more temperature controlled area is a really good idea. And then also, you probably already did this, but just making sure that you have a really good Wi-Fi system. And, we utilize, I forgot the name of the company. I could get it to you if you like. But, one of the best in the nation is the company that we use to outfit our bookmobiles with the Wi-Fi.
Thank you, guys. And if you think of it, Marlon, before we're done, you can drop it in the chat. And if not, you can always send it to me and I will put it out there with the follow-up email that you all will receive after the call today. So I see Shannon and Morgan have also raised their hands. Are you answering the question or do you have a new question?
I was going to answer the question.
Okay, go ahead.
For us here, and I'm not sure what everybody else's system has, we actually keep our library to go in a garage. It's in one of our branches, John F. Germany. And I don't believe that, I don't know, but I don't believe that they unplug anything. I believe we have a kill switch for everything. So we can kind of turn off the kill switch so it stops the battery from draining. The reason why we have that is we have another truck that's called Milo, and it is really not a library to go type of vehicle. It's kind of just like we carry things in it, but we had to get a kill switch installed on our Milo because it was draining the battery and things like that. But we house ours inside the loading dock garage of the library, and it seems to keep everything kind of safe, and it's not necessarily temperature controlled, but it's not out in the blaring sun all day. So I think it does make a difference.
Very cool.
Lindsay, you're on mute.
I'm muted. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Morgan.
Hi, I'm from Walton County. I was just going to answer the question as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a 10-foot box truck that we got about a year and a half ago from Farber, and we do not plug it in. I've never had any issues with humidity inside the box truck. It actually stays pretty cool in here. I've never had to plug it in. The generator, there's been issues. There's always going to be issues, but it runs off gasoline from the actual truck itself, and we don't keep it plugged in at all.
Okay. I love all the different answers. That gives you a lot to think about. Okay, Hannah, go ahead with your question.
Hi, I'm from Marion County and I have a question for any system that has a successful outreach program within senior or assisted living facilities. I would just like to know how you all got those started and what you've found successful in having those sorts of programs. We're trying to start one at my library.
All right, go ahead, Brandon. I see your hand.
Okay, here's the thing about assisted living facilities is you need to work with the activities director, but if it's like this across the state, I don't know, but like activities directors leave, the turnover is crazy. Like I'm dealing with new activities directors all the time. So it's just keeping on top of who the activities director is at that and letting them know what programs you're providing them with. We do community conversations, which is a prepared conversation to have with the residents. And it's usually something based around memory, and we go in and talk to them about all kinds of things. But we prepare readings and discussion points and discussion questions. And then we also do the deposit collection with them. Along with we've really started participating anytime that an assisted living facility has a health fair. We usually make it a point to be set up and sign people up for library cards and teach people how to use their tablets. A lot of people in these assisted living facilities have a tablet that's been bought for them by their grandkid or their kid. They have no clue how to use it. So we teach them how to use Hoopla and Libby with that. But the big thing is just learning who the activities director is and keeping in contact with them. And when they change, make sure you're updating, all of your email forms that you're trying to contact and discuss with them. But I mean, I'm serious. There's one assisted living facility that in the past 12 months, I have seen 10 activities directors. So they just move around a lot.
They do indeed. Okay, I see Shannon's hand and then Samantha's hand. And real quick before we go, I will just say that the The network, the Wi-Fi network that Marlon was talking about is in the chat, and it is West Networks. So go ahead, Samantha.
Hi, I'm here. So what I was gonna add is because I actually run the home borrower service, which is basically books by mail, and Talking Books, the national service for the blind and print disabled, and we're within the outreach and programming team. And when it comes, one thing we've kind of picked up when it comes to these activity directors is anything you can do to make it easy, like be very direct. This is what we need from you, kind of stuff. That definitely is helpful because, like Brandon's saying, there's a really high turnover, and then some of them are running around with their heads cut off, you know. So just being really clear and concise and keeping track of if you're talking to the current one. And then I don't want to completely derail the conversation, but if we could also talk a little bit about, I know I heard at least one other person say they do a books by mail service. What kind of things we're doing to promote that type of service specifically. I'd love to hear about.
Yeah, I would too. So we'll I hate jargon, but I'm going to use it. Let's put a pin in it real quick. I'm going to since Shannon also had her hand up, I will pivot to that just in case it was connected to the senior center conversation, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about books about mail. So hang on just a bit and go ahead, Shannon.
I do have to concur with a lot of what Brandon said. It is kind of high turnover, but what I usually do when I go out to senior centers, especially or assisted living facilities, I give them ARCs and magazines, and it always keeps that on the forefront. The only problem with that is that I don't usually have large print materials with me. You know, it's kind of just what's coming in and that we're trying to, you know, get rid of and things like that. But they seem to like that and remember that. And it actually keeps me fresh in their mind. And I get a lot of phone calls to come out and talk about, you know, either books by mail, homebound books, library to go, how that can come out for a visit to their facility. But for me, what has worked the best is giving out the ARCs that we're just trying to get rid of and the magazines that we're trying to get rid of. And that actually keeps us on the forefront. So they will contact and reach out more often. And it's usually a resident that will always remember if the activities director is no longer there. There's a resident that always takes a card and will always call me and always reach out. God bless them. So it works out, you know, it kind of works out that way for us, just giving them something so they can remember and they will reach out.
So many good thoughts. So many good thoughts. Thank you, Shannon. All right, so we will pivot. We'll talk about books by mail because one of the questions on my list was how does your library reach people in your community who might not otherwise interact with the library? And I would assume one of those ways might be via books by mail, especially if they're homebound. So Samantha, since you raised the question, would you be willing to start the conversation with sort of what your library does?
Sure. So we certainly are engaged in, you know, a lot of these locations. They also have a lot of health fairs. We are often invited to their little community health fairs. We are also, you know, especially when we are ready to fill our schedule, we'll cold call some of the assisted livings and offer to do a presentation, be it to the residents themselves. And we always want to also include the staff, since the staff are going to be your biggest advocate, you know, in these facilities. But oftentimes they do tend to leave it to where they'll just let us do it to their residents, which is great. Talking to them directly is always a treat because we are a remote service. And then of course just promoting more and more within the libraries themselves to make it more aware that we are available. I also, because Talking Books is very specific to vision issues, I am also in touch with some unique organizations that specifically serve that demographic. So such as Lighthouse for the Blind, the Division of Blind Services, and the local chapter, Southwest Florida Council of the Blind. My other thing I just wanted to ask was, I know Shannon was just saying ARC a lot, ARC, I think. And I was just wondering, I think it's probably just a lingo thing. So I'm wondering what she was saying, what she
I'm
meant.
sorry, I'm so sorry. It
It's
is
okay.
advanced reader copies. So, all the books that we get before they go to print, and we don't have anything to do, before they go to final edit. And we have tons of them. So the best way for us to be able to give them out is to give them to folks that don't mind. Some people are actually like, wow, this is where it goes to edit. So it's like a really big deal to them. So that's what it is. And sorry for that, everybody.
It's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. And then we also, of course, Brandon and his team, because we're together, Brandon Houseman and I, we're in the same department. If he's working with somebody who sounds like an organization that sounds like they need our services, he'll defer, and we team up on things all the time too. So there's that.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Samantha. Danielle puts in the chat that Orange County also has a robust books by mail program. And by the way, the chat does now seem to be working, so everybody should be able to access and drop things into the chat. So I don't know if Danielle, if you want to unmute and talk about your books by mail, or if there's anything that anybody else would also like to share, you can raise your hand and we will get to you for sure. But always interested in the ways that if folks do things just a little bit differently, or maybe the same, or ways you can help each other out.
Talk about our books by mail if you're interested.
Yeah, go for it.
Ours is, we've had it since the 80s, so it's been been around a long time. So so if you're just getting started, it took a while to get to where we are. But we treat our books by mail like another branch, not necessarily as just outreach, but we have a budget for it, like we would have a branch budget. And our books by mail, we circulate just as much material as our biggest branch location. And so we have a contract with a local vendor, and they're called PEP. And we pay them per item that they deliver, and they only work for us. We're very fortunate to have this partnership, and over the years it's just gotten bigger and bigger, and especially during COVID it was game changer for us because we could provide books to anyone, and we do it for anyone. It's not limited for just seniors or people with disabilities. Anyone can get books by mail.
Thank you so much. I also want to pick up some threads from the chat. Clay County Libraries mentioned in the list of things that they offer one-on-one tech help and armchair adventures in one of their locations. And then Jennifer also mentioned that they do armchair adventures. Now, because of the way the chat was working, that may be the same person. But I would love to know more about what armchair adventures are, if you would like to tell us.
Hi, I'm Jennifer with Clay County Public Libraries. In Armchair Adventures, we just did like a virtual tour. So we set up like we're going to Paris, and we would find information, sites, and things for us to do, like explore a different location. And so we bring it and project it on a projector at the senior center, and then we talk about it. And then each month we ask them where they want to go next. And then we research it and tell them about the next location they pick. And it's been, we've had to, I started the program and then passed it on to one of my coworkers when I had some other things come up. And it's been hit or miss. A lot of the people who come really enjoy it, but they don't always put us at the best time at the senior center. We're right after lunch, and then we're also right before the bus comes. So we're trying to get it in very quickly for the people that come, but they do enjoy and come up with ideas of where they want to visit and tour.
That is a neat program. A couple of other, Miami-Dade and Pasco, have dropped some information about their books by mail or front door books in Pasco into the chat. Hannah says she loves the armchair adventures idea. That is a lot of fun. We have just under 15 minutes left in our hour, and this has been such a great discussion. I do want to give some time to talk about challenges that you may have faced with your outreach programming. Specifically, if you have questions about challenges that you'd like to pose to your group of peers here, I want to give time for that. As well as any peer advice. So if you are been listening and you have a challenge that hasn't been mentioned yet, or a question that hasn't come up, this is a wonderful chance for you to throw that out to the group and get the thoughts of your peers. I see Morgan, your hand, so go right ahead.
Thank you. In Walton County, we have a very large divide between the tourist part of our county, which is located next to the beach, and the more rural northern areas of the county that actually extend all the way from Florida to Alabama. And some challenges that I've faced with the bookmobile, making a schedule, picking out stops, like that, and also doing outreach, is that it's been very hard to get the more rural areas to participate or even be aware of that when the bookmobile is there. And I'm just wondering if anybody has recommendations. I've used social media. We're about to begin using Nextdoor and things like that. I'm just wondering if there's any other avenues that I could go down to try to promote these stops in these areas more to the community to get them to visit.
Feel free to jump in and answer Morgan's question if you have any thoughts or experience with bookmobile service in a more rural area.
Hi, Morgan. If there's like some kind of center in those areas, like here, Waimama happens to be one of like a rural area for us, but any churches that might have something, or any women's centers, or any place that deals with kind of a lower income folks, they would probably be the ones that I would suggest you reach out to. For us, it's mainly like the churches and the organizations that work with like the migrant communities. And that's where we've had a lot of success in helping to get the word out.
Thank you, Shannon. Anybody else? I'm gonna hop in. I know you're.
Hi, it's Marlon again from Miami.
Yeah, hi Marlon, go for it.
So we're having the same challenge, because I think that's a pretty universal thing, is getting people to come to your stops. And, for various reasons. And one thing we're getting ready to embark on is sort of doing branded or sort of flyers and promotions that highlight the actual location. So for example, let's say we're going to go to a senior center, we'll do a flyer that's kind of branded to that senior center, and they can post it in their community area and advertise that we're coming every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, and that could drum up a little bit more business. We've done it at a couple of locations, and it's worked. So we think that we'll kind of expand that a little bit. And what else? We're also thinking about doing a little bit of promotional stuff, meaning like in our newsletter, to kind of highlight the mobile services unit itself that goes out to, all the folks who have library cards. So, kind of hitting social media and hitting our newsletter is another avenue to let people know where our locations are, so that they're a little bit more excited in advance to come to our locations.
Thank you, Marlon. For good questions and good answers. Go ahead, Alexandra.
Hi, so I just thought of something after I had already typed in the chat. So there was a like an affordable housing apartment complex that we tried doing quite a few different things with. We tried taking the bookmobile for a couple of months. I think we had one person or two people over the several months come onto the bookmobile and use it. We tried to do different events with them, story times, kids stuff, things like that. And we came to this point where it kind of felt like we were trying to force it. So instead of us trying to figure out what they needed, instead we went and had a meeting with their property manager, and found out that a lot of these people are working during the day. They're not necessarily looking to just come check out books from the library, but that they could possibly benefit from like our career resources. And so right now we're trying to come up with some kind of program or offering to them that we would be able to come in and help train them on some of the career resources that we had and use those. So it's kind of trying to figure out what exactly they do need, instead of, I don't know, instead of forcing something else. That was in our case anyway.
That's actually a really good point. And I wonder if anybody else, in the last couple of minutes that we have here, has any interesting ways that they use to gauge community interest, to find out what your community actually needs and wants, that you would care to share with your peers here.
We do have a comment from Michelle in the chat, if
All
you would
right,
like me
yeah.
to read that.
Yes, I do see it, and I was going to circle to it as soon as, since it sort of was going back to a different topic.
Okay.
But yeah, go right ahead.
Says I have a program to use for senior outreaches called Remember When. Each meeting we discuss things from the past, whether it be travel or vacation spots they have visited, fashions of the decades, and memory-related topics.
That's a good one. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. Okay. Well, we have about about 7 minutes left. Before we wrap up for the day, are there any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to maybe see the division do with regards to outreach? Any programming that might be helpful to you? I never can promise anything, but we always want to know, how can we best help you guys out in the field? Go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because Alexandra actually said something that was extremely important about not cramming something down somebody's throat that they're totally not interested in. And that's why when we reached out to churches, we can find out what they would be more interested in, or if there's a center that works with women or, that works with families, they were able to tell us like, okay, so most of our families are unemployed, so they'd be more interested in job services. Or most of our families are, have little kids, so they might be interested on things you offer for a young child, or they have teenagers and they need pure programming that's geared towards a teenager. And that's why I think that I do agree, just going to like an apartment complex and trying to do that probably is, while you're doing something great, the people probably aren't really, they probably really don't care to see what's going on, or they're at work or whatever their situation was. That's why the churches and the community centers in some of these areas, when they're doing their food pantries, it's nice that we can kind of go in, because now you're going there to get food. And now we also know that you need help for jobs. You need help with maybe, 1,000 books before kindergarten or things like that. So we kind of come prepared, even though, they don't know that we've already talked to somebody on the front end to figure out what's going on in that community and what would be the most beneficial materials to send to them to bring out at that time when we're out visiting in their community.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Samantha, I see your hand.
Hi again.
Hi.
So one thing I was kind of just a idea. So because I have the two services, the books by mail and the talking books. Talking books is national. We have a network here locally. Some of the people in this room might be associated with it too, or at least their colleagues are. And so we, at least on a monthly basis, we have virtual meetings, and we're trying to get into a routine where on an annual basis we have in-person meetings. So we have like this consistent networking, and we kind of understand what each other's doing. Now that's very important in that service because we are ultimately all providing the same service. Like the policies are given to us, not created by us. But I was thinking some kind of a group where people doing those types of services in different counties, if we had some way to network with each other, how to figure out who's who, and share ideas. I know in my department, my person, Lisa Cook, she's been here for doing this job for like 16 years. And on an annual basis, she'll either do a phone call or in-person visit to another library. But that's all just her, she's taking that initiative to make that happen because she wanted to stay up to date. And I was just thinking something like that for the state would be really, really nice.
Well, that is perfect. That is right up our alley. So I will see. Usually what we do is we look first to see, does that exist? Like maybe with your MLC, you guys would probably already know that. And if it doesn't, then we will see what we can do. So I have written that down and I will take that to my bureau chief in our next meeting. And I see that I want to say Hannah Hurst says some of their high school outreaches have handed out teen program interest surveys and given out fidget toys to students who turned in a completed survey. So surveys are awesome. Virtual presenters in various disciplines that we could access to present during mobile services stops. That could be good. Okay. So Marlon and crew, are you thinking like a list? Like Florida Humanities has a list of speakers. Is that what you were thinking? Or are you thinking more like our staff does presentations? Which is a little harder for me to wrap my head around, but
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that, like a menu,
a menu. Okay, yeah.
presenters.
Okay. Yeah, I'll write that. I know we used to, for instance, keep the Florida Library Youth Program for a while was keeping like performers list for summer programming that they could build with children's librarians and programmers around the state so that folks would have sort of a running list of performers. And so we've done that before in that capacity. Excellent. I appreciate any final parting thoughts. Thank you to everybody who contributed to this very robust discussion. I've really enjoyed hearing everything that you have to say and hearing you talk to each other. That is really why we're here. Thank you for the thoughts in the chat. If I missed a hand or someone who wanted to share, please let me know. We have a couple of minutes and I would love for you to be heard. Green book. Got it, Hannah. Thank you. Before we close, I'm going to drop a couple of links into the chat, and then my colleagues will be dropping some links into the chat. The first one is to our Niche Academy site, the Division of Library and Information Services Niche Academy site. There are all kinds of webinars and tutorials there, some produced by us, some produced by other libraries that affiliate with the Niche Academy. The second link that I'm going to place into the chat is to a very similar discussion to this one held by the State Library of Virginia back in 2022 with their outreach librarians throughout the state of Virginia, answering similar questions, but I found it informative, so that has been placed on our Niche Academy site in case you are interested. And that's just one of many resources that you can find there. My colleagues will be dropping in a link to our survey. And there it is right there. We would love it if you would fill out our survey and let us know how we've served you today. The recording and video of this talk and the chat will be made available to you after the meeting, probably tomorrow or in the next day or two. And if you would like to see this conversation continue, please let me know. I'm going to put my email in the chat, and I would love for you to reach out to me and let me know if this is a conversation that you would like to see continue. Or if you are interested in being part of a network of your colleagues, if this is something we can work out, send me your email or your contact information, and I'll be sure to keep you posted. With that, we are at 4 o'clock, and I just want to say thank you. I've talked a lot. Any parting thoughts? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you for all of the work you do to reach your communities. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Take care.